The Knicks have struggled against the top three teams, so I just wanted to take a look at that third quarter where things are going right, where they got defensive stops and were able to score, and try to see if we can replicate that moving forward. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the middle of the court high pick and roll. So here you see Cat shading Porzingis' left side because that's where Porzingis is setting the screen on. The thing is, if White rejects the screen, which he's going to do, it leaves room for Cat to be vulnerable because he doesn't really have that lateral quickness to match up with any of the wings. Here, Derek White has to settle for a jump shot because it's late in the shot clock. I'm going to show some clips from the first Celtics game where it's really apparent. But the thing that ended up changing in this third quarter was the scheme of how they were going to defend this actually shifted. So here you can see Jason Tatum actually hasn't decided where he's going to go with this ball, right? But Cat realizes that he's not playing the scheme correctly and he's trying to get onto the right side even though Porzingis is setting the screen on the left side. The reason he's trying to do this is at some point the Knicks decided that OG is going to weak this ball screen, which means forcing Tatum to the left, and Cat doesn't have to try to figure out where the screen is coming from. Every time the screen gets set, Cat's just going to be responsible for the right side and OG is going to be responsible for the left side. So you see it here where Cat realizes he made a mistake of coming up on the left and he's frantically trying to get to this right side. Here he ends up getting to the side and he contains Tatum here. Now, I'm going to show you the play the Celtics ran a lot in the first game. It's this ram screen to get Cat detached from Cornet before Cornet comes to set the screen. So here's the ram screen, which is just a down screen by Pritchard. In the first game, Cat would try to fight over it and get really lost. In this play, you're going to see Cat not even try to follow. He's just going to go on the right side and kind of like zone up this right side. So now the screen is set on the right side, which is the correct side it's set on. And this is from the first game. So he's trying to follow Kata, gets caught on this screen, doesn't know which side it's going, and then Tatum rejects it. And then Cat doesn't have the lateral quickness to keep up. You're going to see it one more time in the previous game. And the Celtics do a good job of disguising which side it comes up to, right? If Cat is this detached, it's hard for him to get back into the play. Now, here's another ram screen from the most recent game in the third quarter. And you're going to see it again. You're going to see Cat just come up on the right side and not worry about where the screen is getting set, right? So Cat's just not even worried that the screen is getting set or looks like it's getting set on the left side. He's just going to stay on the right side, right? And this screen is kind of set flat, but it doesn't matter to Cat because this left side is now OG's responsibility. And then the right side of the court is Cat's responsibility. So this was a change in how they covered this. In order to cover like this, you have to trust that OG is not getting beat. So the Cat's on the right side, but it doesn't even matter where the screen is set at this point. And then Cat's already there to contain it. OG recovers, and it's just good defense. Right? As I said, it requires a tremendous amount of trust in OG not getting beat, which I think that's a fine decision to live with. Another thing I want to call out that the Knicks were doing well is they were rotating a lot better. Here you see Jaylen Brown driving. Cat recovers. And I think in my ideal situation, I would want Josh Hart to peel back to Porzingis. But if you're going to double this, everyone else has to rotate, right? So here you see Brunson rotate. Maybe if I had a nitpick, a second slow. Here's a rotation. Same thing with McBride, maybe a second slow. But in terms of just the effort that you need to start playing with on defense, you start seeing it a lot more in this third quarter where everyone's rotating. Another thing that also happened in that last Celtics game was that we were living with this Brunson matchup on whoever. If they wanted to mismatch Hunt Brunson, the Knicks would live with it, which I think is the right decision. He's been great. He's been working hard to just get those stops. And if that's the avenue of attack the Celtics want to utilize, it's probably one of their weaker ones. So the last thing I want to talk about is just running people off the three-point line, which you just want to force these mid-range. So good job by Brunson running off. You're going to see in the next clip again by McBride. Here, McBride's going to run off Pritchard so that Pritchard doesn't get this three. My one critique is as this pass gets sent, you want to pre-switch again Cat and Brunson because you can just switch here with good communication where you're back to the original matchups. Here, instead, they just stick with the matchups, which leads to this Cornet dunk. But overall, that's a good game plan, running people off the three-point line, good coverage of the high pick and roll in the middle of the court, and also just living with the Brunson matchup. Now, moving on to the offensive side of the ball, the first game against the Celtics, and honestly against all three, OKC, Boston, and Cleveland, the Knicks weren't getting up shots from three. Here you see Cat running an off-ball action with OG to get up a 3, and you have to be able to generate these shots to get back into a game. Instead, this is what we usually go to. This Cat post-up trying to take advantage of the smaller defender. In this Celtics game, that's the only play where they went to this Cat post-up. Everything else was perimeter-oriented, which is a really good change and something that I really enjoyed watching. Here, you're going to see Cat get this ball. This is a delay action where Cat's at the top of the key. So the reason this works better in this situation is you had Hart initiate, which drags Porzingis a little bit outside the paint. You have McBride and OG on the strong side, which leaves the paint open if Cat were to drive. Because you have better spacing here, Cat can shoot this, and Tatum has to stay home. Tatum has to be more concerned about this drive because he doesn't have as much help behind him. And because Tatum's not as tall as Cat, Cat can just shoot over him. And these are shots that Cat has to get up if you want to get back into games. You have to up your 3-point rate, which they did in this game a lot. Here, bring Hart into the action as a screener. The Celtics are playing drop, and especially when they're guarding Hart, they're playing off him. So this is what the Celtics do to pick apart Cat, right? So you just have to do the same thing where Brunson gets drop coverage, and then once Brunson gets drop coverage, he's just so good at picking apart the defense, whether it's a pull-up or just driving into the basket. Here you're going to see Hart set the screen again, but he's going to set this as a flip screen, right? He's going to flip the screen where he's starting to come up on Pritchard's left side, but eventually he taps Pritchard on that side. He comes up on Pritchard's right side. Pritchard's going to just hesitate for a second. You see him open up as if Brunson's going to drive to the right. But instead, because of that flip screen, he just gets a second head start on Pritchard. Kornet's deep and drop, which allows for that 3-point attempt to go up, right? Another way the Knicks are able to get off good 3-point shots. You're going to see the same exact thing here. Flip the screen. Kornet's in drop. You got a good screen on Jaylen Brown because you're flipping it. And then another 3-point attempt. And this is so much better than the previous games where they weren't really looking to shoot threes because they were trying to take advantage of a Cat post-up or a Brunson isolation. Here, when you have Hart initiate as well, you're dragging Kornet, their center, outside of the paint. And then because you're dragging him outside of the paint, it leaves room for someone like Brunson, OG, Mikhail, Deuce, really anyone to just cut and then get an open look. And that's the benefit of having Hart initiate as well. So overall, just including Hart as a screener, as an initiator, having Hart flip the screen really allows for Brunson to get off some good open shots. Here it is again, as Hart as an initiator, just getting to the basket. But overall, those are ways you can improve the offense when you're down, getting these 3-point looks. This is a really cool play. So here you're going to see the Knicks get this switch. They're going to get Horford, who was originally guarding Hart, onto Brunson, and then Pritchard onto Hart. And then Hart goes down into the dunker spot. And the reason this is really effective is now when you have Cat in the delay set where he likes to operate and likes to drive, your low man help is now Pritchard and is not another big. This is a way you can utilize Hart as a non-shooter where they can't clog the paint. Or even if they're clogging the paint, they're not clogging the paint with a second big. They're clogging the paint with Pritchard. So being able to get that switch first and then go into your action with Cat is really effective in having Cat play this one-on-one with the center matchup where the preloaded help isn't as effective in stopping it. So just really good play by the Knicks all around. Just overall in the third quarter, just good basketball and good adjustments. And being able to take that quarter and just play that way for all 4 quarters against the best teams in the NBA is what's going to give the Knicks a chance.